Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Hello again, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, and you're not. No, that's the way they used to open up. Chevy Chase used to open up Saturday Night Live. This is Another Duly Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI and from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. I have to make sure I read today because I haven't been here. It feels like forever since I've done it. I did it a week ago, but, well, actually 8 days ago. Yeah. But, and we appreciate all of our sponsors for allowing me to take a little time off, and it was good. We've got a great show for you today. Billy Donovan is going to join us. Can't wait to talk to him. We'll talk about everything. We'll talk about the old days, the new days, what he's doing now, and obviously with the Bulls, and a little bit about his recruitment of Todd Golden, because he was big into that. And, of course, Coach Spurrier will be back on Monday. Coach Spurrier was playing behind us, my brother and myself, at Marsh Creek on Tuesday, that would have been. And it might have been Wednesday. Yeah, Tuesday. So anyway, and we both had the same problem. That course is ridiculous. It's so good, so nice, so beautiful. Wind's blowing though. If you're a foot off the back of the green, it could be gone. It's one of the greatest courses in the world. And we appreciate Kerry Splain over there. But, man, it is so hard. And then the next day I played Ironwood and played a lot better. And then, because, of course, it's a little bit easier, and then I played 9 holes at UF thanks to Scott Hampton, and then 9 more holes with my wife at Ironwood. So I played 45 holes in 3 days. So tan, somewhat fit, just happy to be ready to get back with you. I did work a lot on my vacation because I do vacation about as well as I do retirement. You know, I still work because I said, look, I'm going to save a couple things I need to do. If it's raining, I can bang stuff out, you know, and it'll be good. But we didn't get much rain. We got a little bit of night rain the first 2 nights. But anyway, we had a great time. So Billy Donovan today, Steve Spurrier on Monday. And then we're going to keep it going all summer and try to bring you a lot of former Gators and that kind of thing. Because, look, in the summer, leading up to SEC Media Days even, there's not only so much news, so we're going to give you a lot of good interviews like we did last summer. All right, let us get to the fearsome fivesome. And again, I wanted to mention this. I thought somebody was lined up to be the advertiser. It didn't work out. Something else happened, change in plans for them. So I'm looking for an advertiser for the fearsome fivesome that leads off this show. It's a good deal. Trust me on this. If you want to give me a call, you know how to get a hold of me. It's not hard. My number's up there all the time, so you should be able to get a hold of me. So here's the fearsome fivesome, and I'm going to lead, to me, the biggest story of the weekend, going into the weekend or the last couple days, is that they've announced all these game times. Usually it was always a big deal on there'd be one day when you would it was usually like the Thursday of SEC Media Days, and we would literally get down there early, Robbie and I, because we wanted to have the story first about what time Florida was going to play its first game. You know, and so they'd come out and they'd have a sheet, and they'd lay it down, and you go, oh, that's just the all SEC team. We already knew that. Then have another sheet, put it down. Oh, that's just for whatever, for the Peach Bowl or something. Then they put a sheet down. Here are the game times, and we'd be able to get it in the paper as fast, or get it up on the website as fast as we could. Now they do it a lot earlier, and again with TVs and all the marketing that goes on there. But Florida will play Utah at 7, Kentucky at 7, and USF at 7:30. They also announced a Washington State Eastern Washington game at noon, October 1st. Those poor kids are going to die in a noon game. But now, so the significance here is the 7 o'clock Utah game, because a lot of people I know were saying, hey, you know, if we get a noon game, they're going to wilt the fourth quarter. They have no chance of being able to hold up there. Well, but it's still pretty steamy at 7 o'clock in Gainesville, Florida on September 3rd, I think the game is. So that still will be a factor. But I think it's better that it's a 7 o'clock game the more I've thought about it, because you get to do all your tailgating in the daylight and then come into that night atmosphere. Now, I know it won't be quite night yet, but it will get night. And that atmosphere is different at night than it is during the day. So I think this is a plus for the Gators, plus for all of you who love to tailgate and love to spend a lot of time out there. 7 o'clock game, and again, same with the Kentucky game, 7 o'clock, and then USF at 7:30. So they announced that, and that was kind of significant, I thought, to me. The next thing up is what I just finished watching and listening to, which was baseball, which got the win today. It's funny, when they got run ruled yesterday by Texas A&M, I told my wife, because we were playing golf and we were kind of listening to it, in the cart, but after a while we quit listening. I said, don't fall in love with this team. And there are teams that I've said that about before. And I know in a way it's blasphemous to say that about a Gator team. You're in love with all the Gator teams. I'm trying to say, don't fall in love with some teams, because they're going to eventually let you down. And this team, after that game, I was like, this is a perfect example. This was a team that was killing the ball. They'd won all these series in a row. And then what they do their last 3 games, the South Carolina last game and the first 2, South Carolina and Texas A&M, and this, scored 3 runs total. And one of those runs scored because the catcher dropped the ball, and that allowed them to get a walk-off. That's this team. They're a strange team. It's an all-or-nothing team. Today, it was an all. They hit 3 homers. And they won the game, but the pitching at the end, Slater, the 9th inning, gave up 3 runs, 2-run homer, in fact. But they won, and that's another big win. I still think their chances of hosting are very slim, even with 3 out of 4 over Arkansas, because Arkansas is not going to host either. And they've been struggling in the back half of the season. So Florida will play tomorrow, and we've got time, and we'll give it to you in the Hesser and Kipke games of the weekend. We'll give you the time that's scheduled, but why would you think a game that was scheduled in this SEC tournament would happen on time? It's been crazy, all the rain out there. And again, I'm not a big fan of the tournament out there, but it is what it is. I know they do everything they can to make it happen. All right, third up on our list on the fearsome fivesome is softball playing today. And of course, the game is going on as we speak. Literally just started. At the end, towards the end of the show, I'll give you whatever update I can for those of you who are watching or listening live. But the rest of you will say, well, I already know the score of the game. Florida, of course, at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech having to win 2 against Kentucky on its final day. And we watched a lot of softball on our trip, and a lot of different things. It was a weird, it is when you go to a condo in St. Augustine. Maybe you haven't, but if you have no idea what you're getting TV-wise. I remember we used to go to a place called Serenity Now. It was great. But TV, you get like 3 channels. This one, you got a lot of channels. You just had to figure them out. Most of them were in Spanish, which was really weird. But you could figure out how to change it. We end up getting what we wanted. Anyway. All right, next up, but softball will try to give you that. And again, I'm a big believer, in my opinion. I know that Tim Walton doesn't believe this, but in my opinion, Florida making the Super Regionals was enough to call this a successful season with all the young players they had. And again, Florida baseball and softball, so many youngsters. Next year is going to be a big-time year for both those sports. But softball, getting to the Super Regionals, it's not bad. What are there, 16 teams still alive, and they're one of them. And we'll see how they do. Okay, next up on the fearsome fivesome, Florida gets a big-time commitment, or I don't know, is it an actual signee or commitment, whatever it is. Ricky Pearsall from the transfer portal. And again, this is a guy from Arizona State they were after. They needed another guy at receiver. That room now looks a little bit better. When you add in, you take Whittemore, you take Fraziers, you take Henderson, you take obviously Shorter, you take some other guys that maybe can come up that we don't even know about yet. Now there's enough people in that room where I feel like they're going to figure out how to get something out of it. Getting a top-notch receiver, to me, was the most important thing about the portal this year. They had to get somebody because they've lacked speed last year. We all know that. And this Pearsall kid, now again, I've watched him play very briefly. I've looked at a few of his highlights, 48 catches, 580 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. You hope he doesn't need it. You hope he's so good he leaves. But you will be sad if he leaves. But that was a big pickup, and they've done well in the transfer portal. You know, this team is going to be interesting, to say the least. And, of course, it's talking season, so we're going to do a lot of talking about what might happen, what could happen all around the league. In fact, probably next Saturday we're going to have, or next Friday, we're going to have somebody on to kind of kick off of our SEC, a look around the SEC. And God, we won't be in June. We will be in June next Friday. Jeez, what happened? Next Tuesday, by the way, is my daughter's 21st birthday. How about that? Kelsey turns 21. And then finally on the fearsome, fivesome, I did want to talk about Florida also in basketball, getting a signee in Riley Kugel. I said Ricky, but it's Riley because it's Ricky Pierce and Riley Kugel. Kind of a long guard that can shoot. Again, until I see these guys. The one thing I do know is that Todd Golden is putting together a pretty nice collection of talent. Look, it's not Duke talent. It's not North Carolina talent. There's no Baycott on that team. It's not Kentucky talent. It's not, Arizona talent, but it's a pretty talented team. How he molds that group together is going to be the key, and we'll see how that works, and it'll be a lot of fun. All right, so that's the Fearsome Fivesome. We do it every Monday and Friday here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast. We have to take a break here, and when we come back, we'll be joined by the great, the legend, Billy Donovan. Can't wait for it. We'll be right back here. You're watching Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Duly Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life. And the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Okay, and welcome back to another Dooley Noted Podcast, brought to you, of course, as always, by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And we are at, of course, Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, where we do the podcast all the time. And I'm guessing our next guest has been here a few times. Billy Donovan joins us right now. And Billy, I know you've probably been over here to Coach Spurrier's restaurant, haven't you?
I've been over once. Actually, my son works there. My youngest
I know.
son
I see him all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I'm trying to possibly come back in there next week to see him at work and maybe have a bite to eat there. But it turned out great. I think the last time I was there, Visors was not quite open yet, that up top area. But the restaurant was open. The food was great. And the memorabilia in there was great. So I'm really happy for the community and for Steve. Seems like it's going to be a great restaurant.
Yeah, and your son is doing a great job. Believe me, it's so much fun to talk to him. When of course part of the reason it's fun is he's working behind the bar and he's serving me drinks. So
I'm making sure he gets you a couple free pale ales, Pat.
We can try to do that. Hey, let's go back to a month or so ago when Florida hired a new basketball coach, and you had some input into that. You helped that process along, because I think you still have that great affection for the University of Florida.
Yeah, Scott Strickland had reached out to me, and Scott has been a great friend. Knew Scott when he was at Mississippi State. Jeremy Foley always spoke very highly of Scott, and our times in Destin had a chance to spend a little bit of time with Scott. So we had a little bit of a prior relationship before he got hired at Florida. And, when Mike ended up leaving, he just reached out to me. I remember we were on a road trip, a West Coast swing. I was in Sacramento, and he called me while I was on the plane going to Sacramento, and he told me that, Mike was going to take the Florida job. And he just wanted to talk to me about the job, in terms of, what I thought. And I think so much, Pat, since I've left, has changed in college basketball and college athletics all the way around with the NIL and transfer portal. I think it's totally different. But, I think he really just wanted to talk about, maybe some of the qualities that he needed to look for in a coach, and maybe what some of the challenges, would potentially be. And I just told him I thought it was a great place, great community. But I think you have to have a lot of energy, high energy. You got to do a great job recruiting in the state of Florida. I think you can branch out and recruit nationally. But someone that's going to connect with the community. I think someone that can connect with some of the former players, that there's been a lot of great players go through there. And I think during their process, I was not at all involved in the process, with who the candidates were. I think Scott coming in, with Mike already being hired by Jeremy, I think just wanted to get my perspective on the job, the situation. And I told him there were some things I couldn't answer, just based on being removed from college athletics for a period of time. But, he really wanted to make sure he got, somebody that was a good fit. And, by all accounts, Todd and I have talked a couple times. Seems like a great guy. I know he's got some ties to the SEC, being at Auburn with Bruce Pearl.
Right.
But he's obviously very well respected, seemed like a great guy. And all the things that he was doing when we spoke on the phone seemed to me like were all the right things. He was trying to connect with a lot of former players. He was trying to connect, I think, obviously with current players. He was really trying to, I think, find his way around the state of Florida to recruit, because the state is so big and there are really, really, I think, good, talented players there. So that was really only my involvement. I was not involved at all as it relates to like who the candidates were, interviewing process. It was just, I think Scott wanted to reach out and talk to me a little bit about my perception of the job being in it for the time I was there.
And did you tell him that when he wanted to hire Torian Green, that would be a great hire too? Because now Torian's in town now, so we get to see him all the time.
You know what? I'm really happy for Torian, and it was interesting. Torian and I had talked for the last several years about, when it was going to be right for him to stop playing and he wanted to get into coaching. And, he had called me last year and said he thought he was finished up, didn't want to go back overseas and wanted to get into coaching. And, I hired him in Chicago as a player development guy, and he developed great relationships with all the guys. Got a very close relationship with DeMar DeRozan, worked him out every day. He was on the court working with guys. And then, Todd had called me, and Torian traveled with us on the road, and Todd called me and said, listen, we have this new position they're allowing now. They didn't have that when I was coaching, but you could hire a player development coach. And he was very interested in Torian. And I talked to Torian about it, and Torian was really excited. His family is still in Florida. He's got, obviously, children and a family. And I think in talking to Todd, he felt great about it. And I told Todd, I was just all in for whatever was best for Torian. And Torian was really excited about being back on campus and working with the program. And I think he'll be able to unify and connect a lot of people. And I think be able to even help Todd with some of the relationships of people that he maybe has heard of but doesn't have a personal relationship with.
You mentioned NIL and transfer portal. I'm sure you're glad you don't have to deal with that in the NBA. And secondly, how much you seem to see a lot of this stuff coming down the road. And there's a lot of people who have the theory that you were ready to move to something else because you could kind of see where all this was going. Is that true or false?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, Pat. I don't know if I had a crystal ball to say that this was going to turn into what it is now. And it's amazing the number of college coaches I speak to just trying to deal with all this stuff, right? I never envisioned that there'd be a situation where if a guy wanted to transfer, he could go somewhere else and immediately be eligible to play.
Right.
I did think that there was a possibility with some of the court cases and lawsuits with image and likeness that could happen. I've always been a proponent that I think these guys do deserve some kind of compensation, just because of all the NCAA rules and restrictions. But I didn't know it would get to this level. The main thing for me, Pat, was I just felt like I loved Florida. It was very, very comfortable there. But I felt like as a coach at Florida, I experienced everything there was to experience. Going to the NIT, having losing seasons, getting to a national championship game, losing in the national championship, winning a national championship, losing in the SEC tournament finals, winning the SEC tournament finals, being part of a team that went undefeated in the league. I experienced so many different things. And I just felt like when the opportunity to go to Oklahoma City kind of came up, it really was a really hard decision because of my connection, to Florida, to the community, and my fact that my family had been raised there. But I also knew that, I felt like I needed from a growth standpoint to maybe experience something a little bit different as well. And it wasn't really necessarily that I saw this coming down the road. I didn't know it would get to this place. But I just felt like for me personally, it was a chance for me to maybe do something a little bit different. And listen, there could have been a lot of regret, looking back on it and saying, geez, I should have just stayed there. But listen, I had unbelievable 19 years and met some incredible people, and obviously still have a lot of close connections there.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. Obviously with what you're having to deal with without having to deal with NIL. And I'm just curious what you do miss about college, because I know the recruiting gets old and you're having to be out and having to be away so much. But what do you miss about college basketball?
You know what, Pat, I didn't necessarily not like the recruiting. I think the one thing as I got older that I struggled with a little bit in the recruiting was, there's no prizes for second place. You either get a guy, right? There's just not. Yeah. And you look back at all the time that you invest, in a guy that more often than not, you're probably not going to sign. But I felt like the recruiting I enjoyed. I met some obviously incredible people. It's amazing now, even talking to a guy like Julius Randle or Justice Winslow, guys I recruited pretty hard,
right,
that are in the NBA, and we talk and connect. It's very interesting. I'm sorry, what was the question again, Pat?
What do you miss about the college game, though?
Yeah, the one thing I really miss is I miss the practices. It's different because of the level of player and the experience of the player. You don't have a lot of practice time. So pretty much you're playing every other night. You may have pockets inside the season where you have 2 or 3 days off where you can have legitimate practices, but a lot of it is walkthrough. It's film sessions. It's very, very brief stuff that you can do on the court. I don't think people truly understand the toll that 82 games takes on these guys' bodies, and especially from a perspective for a guy that's playing 35, 36 minutes every single night. But I do miss the practice part of it. The relationship part's been great. You know, the one thing about it, I've always said this, it's like when you're in college and you have a freshman coming in, it's the first time for everything, right? First time being away from home, first time playing with new teammates, new coach, everything's new for this guy. And there's a lot of times a player can have a lot of, misunderstanding of how hard or easy it is to get to the NBA, or they just think they're going to turn pro, and they realize over a period of time, and sometimes you're trying to help a guy understand what it takes to get to the level they want to get to. Up here in the NBA, they've experienced everything. They've gotten their tails kicked in. They've obviously seen everything they could possibly see. They've had incredible success. So you're dealing with a person, a player that's experienced a lot more. I always say it's just like, when you're with your child and your child's 15, 18, 19 years old, your conversations at 15, 18, 19 years old are a lot different when they're 35 years old. And it's just the wealth of experience that the NBA player has that's so much different than a college player that, has not experienced, at least even between the lines and on the court.
Would you ever consider coming back to college, or you're an NBA guy for the rest and then retire?
Yeah, I mean, I like the NBA, Pat. I feel like I've done the college thing. I haven't really thought about that at all. I did not know when I left Oklahoma City. I did not know what the future was going to hold. I basically, I hadn't spoken to anybody. I came back, and then Chicago had called and we had talked. But I haven't really thought about going back to college. I really enjoy what I'm doing. I love the people I'm working with in Chicago. The ownership group is great. The Reinsdorfs are wonderful people. And the president, Arturas Karnisovas, is a great guy. Mark Eversley, the GM. I really have enjoyed my time there and have enjoyed, the players. And I've been very, very fortunate, Pat. Like, I've been around, not only great players, but I've had a chance to be around great people as well. So I really enjoy the NBA and like it quite a bit.
Have they asked you to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" at Wrigley yet?
I can't, because Jerry Reinsdorf, he owns the White Sox.
Oh, that's right.
But no, Jerry's great. He's a great owner. He's a great man, and there's, I think, obviously a connection with the White Sox and the Cubs and those kind of things, and I think a mutual respect there. But I have not had a chance. I've been to 2 White Sox games, but I haven't really had a chance to get to any Cubs games. And the thing that's ironic is when I was at Florida, Tony La Russa was gracious enough. I really started to, at the end of seasons in February, when spring training would open up, I would try to get either managers or players to come in to talk to our team when I was at Florida. And Tony La Russa was unbelievably gracious and did it a few times. And he came in and spoke to our team a couple of times. And I developed a great relationship with him. And then we both kind of got hired around the same time. So it's been great to kind of reconnect with him and see him and speak to him quite often.
I have to ask you about Mick Hubert retiring, and that was just, of course, last week, and I'm sure he's talked to you because he was the story I did about him for the alumni magazine. He was just gushing about how great you were to him, and that was one of the great things he appreciated about the relationships he had. But I know you liked Mick a lot, and you would invite him up for to coaching sessions just so he would know what was going on.
Yeah, you know what, Pat? It's interesting. I was taken back. I had no idea, and then I was very, very touched when Steve Russell had called me and said, "Listen, we're going to have Mick on the radio. I'm going to try to get some people to call in. Would you be willing to call in?" And I called in, I think maybe the first person, like around noon, and had a chance to talk to him. He is a great, great guy. I know people obviously feel like they're at the game when they listen to him, on the radio. Right. But I think the way he did his job for basketball, baseball, football, all the sports that he was involved with, he loved the Gators. But just a really good guy, Pat. Strong faith, great family. I loved talking to him. I loved being around him. He and I developed a really, really good relationship, back before they stopped some of this. We used to do the weekly TV show. We would do weekly radio shows. So we always were around each other. And he was such a pleasant and great guy and said such good enthusiasm. And, I didn't get a chance really to talk to him about the retirement or, why he thought it was the right time to do it. But at least when I was on the radio with him, he seemed, certainly overwhelmed, I think, with all the people that have reached out to him. But I certainly wish him the best of luck going forward.
How about your guy Al Horford and what he's been doing in the playoffs, man? I mean, at his age, to be dominating the way he is, I mean, we knew he'd be a great pro, but to be a great pro at this age is amazing.
No, I think the one thing with Al that I've always respected and admired, even when he was in college, he's done a great job taking care of his body and taking care of himself. He's very meticulous. I think the situation in Philly was hard for him because I think they were trying to figure out how to play with he and Embiid, and they had so many big pieces. Ben Simmons, they were a huge team. And I think now Al's in a situation where, playing that center spot, his versatility on defense, he's probably able to do a little bit more than maybe he was able to do in Philly. And I think the Philly situation was hard. It probably was hard for everybody just because there was so much, they were so top heavy in the front court. But Al is, I think loves his team. He's always liked Boston. He's spoken very highly about Boston when we've spoken. I think his family likes it there. But to your point, the way he's played and what he's done is incredible. And we played Boston, and it was towards the end of the year. And Brad Stevens and I connected after the game just shortly, and they were playing really well. And I said to him, you guys are playing great. And he says, why we're playing great. He says, you coached a guy for 3 years. So I think Al's had a great impact. And that's not taken away from Tatum or Jaylen Brown or Marcus Smart. They're all great players. But there's a presence about Al in the locker room that can kind of, I think, galvanize a group and connect a group and get them playing for one cause. And I think his leadership certainly has probably played a major role with their team and what they've done from January to now.
Yeah, that's, all those guys from that team, of course, we hold a special place in our heart, but I'm sure they do still in yours. And of course, everybody you coach. But I would think that seeing those guys on NBA floors now, and you get to walk up and talk to them, I mean, that's got to be a kind of a cool thing.
The only thing that's making me feel somewhat younger, Pat, is that Udonis Haslam still on the sidelines. Right. He comes down every single game, and we sit there and we embrace and hug. It was funny. I got a picture maybe a week or two ago from Major Parker and Brent Wright and Udonis. It was Udonis's 40th birthday party, and they were all together, and they took a picture together. But, Udonis, Brad Beal, but it's amazing. A lot of these guys, Joe Kim, Mike Miller, Matt Bonner, a lot of these guys now have come towards the end of their career. And it's good to see Al still playing at an incredibly high level. Brad Beal's playing at a high level. Maurice Spates, obviously, he's retired. But, I was fortunate that when I first got to the NBA, I had a chance to see a lot of those guys. Chandler Parsons was still playing before his injuries. Yeah. And Nick Kalathis at that time was at Memphis. So I got a chance to visit with a lot of those guys. It was always great to see him. And then I also got a chance, Pat, to see a lot of guys that we tried to recruit that we never signed.
The Patrick Pattersons of the world,
But I got a chance to coach Patrick Patterson. I got a chance last year to coach Kristen Thompson. Those are guys we recruited,
Was there ever a moment when you early in your NBA career where you were standing on the court and you go, I can't believe I'm on the court with LeBron James, or I can't believe I'm on the same court with these guys? I mean, was there a kind of, wow, I can't believe I'm here moment?
Well, the one thing, Pat, it took me a while to catch up to, I think, was the pace and the speed of the game. I mean, it was really the rules are totally different. I got a great story. It's like maybe one of the first couple games, and there was a drive to the basket, and the referee called a foul, and it was on the ground, non-shooting foul, and then there was a TV timeout. So the team comes over to the bench, and I'm like diagramming an underneath out of bounds play. And Westbrook says to me, he says, hey, coach, he says, up here we take the ball out on the side. We don't take it out underneath bounds. So the game, even like substitution-wise, like in college, when the horn sounds, you can no longer sub anybody in. In the NBA, you can sub in at any time you want to. It doesn't make a difference. but the pace and the speed of the game is so different. The rules are totally different. And I think the one thing I felt really strongly about when I first got up there, it was very evident to me, coaching Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Nick Collison. These guys have been in the NBA for 6, 7, 8, and Nick was probably in his 10th or 12th year. They were so far ahead of me in terms of understanding personnel and scouting reports. And I was always grateful that they were very, very patient with me in a lot of ways, just because the X's and O's part of it was okay, but just even the matchups and how you're guarding certain players, they had such a, like, I think the first game I coached was against San Antonio, and I'm talking about, Kawhi Leonard and the shoot around, whatever it is. And Kevin Durant's probably guarded Kawhi Leonard 50 times. That was a lot more than I do. And I've always felt like with veteran players and guys that have been in the league for a while, they can help you a lot as a coach if you partner with them, because there's things that they see on the court that they can come to the bench that you may not be able to see, or they can sense certain things and they can bring it to you. And that's why I said a little bit earlier, my time in the NBA, it's been fortunate because all the guys I've been around have been great guys, and I've had really good relationships and really have enjoyed coaching.
Billy Donovan, of course, coming to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line, and it is time for us to play that game we call Yes, No Way, or Maybe, which is brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks. And you can go in there and whatever you order, just say you listen to Another Dooley Noted Podcast, you get a free order of fries of that. So that's a good deal for you, Coach, when you get over here. Free fries.
Yeah, I may take you up on that bet. Yes, free fries.
All right, number one on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Yes, No Way, or Maybe. Hotels are nicer in the NBA than they were in college.
Yes. Yes.
It's
funny,
probably not
going back. Like, it's interesting. So, like, every year, and this was kind of like foreign to me, right? So you sit down, and this happened my first year, right? We sit down, and I got into Chicago. So you always sit down with the people in the organization that handle the travel, and you talk about hotels, flight times, and you go through the whole entire schedule, 82 games. So they're like, hey, Coach, do you want to stay at the Ritz over here or the Westin this hotel over here? And they're all 5-star hotels. I'm like, listen, for like 28 years, I stayed in Holiday Inns. I stayed in Marriott courtyards. You're asking me, about the Ritz, if that's okay. Yeah, it's fine. So the hotels are unbelievable that you stay at.
Yeah, I would think so. Number two, Billy Donovan has taken people over to show them his name on the floor at Exact Tech Arena.
No.
Not yet? You haven't taken anybody over there?
No.
They painted it bigger this time, though.
Yeah, no, I have not done that. I was there for the court ceremony, Pat, but I have not really. Haven't been back for a game, just because the season.
So you haven't seen the big with it bigger, right?
Yeah, I have not seen it in person. Obviously, I've seen it on TV, but I have not seen it in person.
Okay, and finally, number three, the Warriors win it all this year.
Maybe. Maybe.
We don't even know who they're going to play yet.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that those two teams, Miami and Boston, are really good. Golden State's terrific. Obviously, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond.
How do you
Green.
defend those guys? How do you defend it? It's got to be hard.
Yeah, I mean, they're so battle tested. But the thing about those teams, Pat, especially, and it was my first year, we had a chance to play against them, in the Western Conference Finals. They're just so battle tested and so resilient and so tough. And there's a calmness and a competitiveness with Draymond and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. And I think probably Jordan Poole and Kevon Looney and even Andrew Wiggins and guys that are on the team now have probably learned an enormous amount about what goes into winning from those guys. But, certainly, I just think, the matchups are interesting. And if Miami can be healthy, because they've had some guys in and out, and so has Boston. Marcus Smart's had some guys out. But that's going to be interesting because those three teams, Golden State, Miami, and Boston, if you look at it, at the center position for Miami and for Boston, the flexibility for the switching with Bam Adebayo and with Al Horford, and then the versatility at the wing spots with Tatum and even Jimmy Butler and Brown. Like I think to me, it's going to be really, really interesting a series. Obviously, Boston has a chance to close it out now, but Golden State, it's hard to bet against them just based on what they've done. It's pretty remarkable that they went through maybe a period where when Kevin Durant left, Curry got hurt, they kind of maybe had to regather themselves, but here they are, right back in the finals again.
That was Yes, Nowhere, maybe brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks. He is Billy Donovan, brought to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. I can't thank you enough, Billy. It's always great talking to you. I could talk to you all day, and we really appreciate you taking time to be on the show.
Always great to connect with you, Pat. Thanks for having me on, and you look great.
Thanks, man. You do too. We'll see you later, okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right, we got to get a break. We'll do that. We'll come back with Three Things by Hanlaw, Leonardo's and Millhopper Quick Picks, Hesser and Kipke, Games of the Weekend, and a Power 5. Adam's Ribco to Go, Gator of the Week, this, that, and the other. We're going to do all that. We'll find time to get it in there in the last 20 minutes somehow. But we wanted to go along with Billy because that's great stuff. And, I mean, we didn't even really talk about the national championships. We've talked about him with that a million times. I wanted to talk more about college versus pros and that kind of stuff. That's what we did. All right. So we'll take a break. We'll come back here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam's Ribco to Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Ribco to Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
All right. Welcome back to Another Duly Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. By the way, on Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks, we're going to pull a winner today. I promised you I was going to do that. We're going to actually have Evan give me a number between 1 and 50. And you don't know how I've got it all mixed up, so the numbers could be everywhere. So it's totally unprejudiced. All right, let us get to three things. And three things, as always, are presented by Hand Law. a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. We appreciate Chris Hand for being a double sponsor and all the great stuff he does, and appreciate Hand Law very much. Number one on three things presented by Hand Law. So Kirby Smart's getting a huge raise. He just won their first national championship in 41 years. He's developed a program that is on par with everybody. I don't want to say it's the gold standard. I still think Alabama's the gold standard, but Georgia's right there with them, if not ahead of them. Right there with Ohio State, right there with everybody. I mean, I think no Sherlock. He's getting a big raise, and he's going to probably be making as much as anybody out there. And his offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, also got a huge raise, up to $2 million a year. I remember the year that Spurrier went up to $1 million, and that was a big deal. Now the assistants are getting $2 million. But here's the thing. This is the market. It's what it bears. I don't want to hear about this guy's making so much. This is what the market bears. And you pay coaches based on what they've done, not on what they're going to do. Sometimes you do. Billy Napier is certainly getting paid for what he's going to do, what they hope he's done. But for the most part, you get paid for what you do at a school. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was that, okay, everybody, look at all this money that's going in, but we don't want the players to get any money. This is why the players have a leg to stand on when they're talking about NIL. I know that NIL is an out-of-control mess, and maybe we can get it brought back to normalcy, but this is why they want more money. You just heard Billy Donovan talking about it, that he wanted it when he was at Florida. Nobody's asking that these guys get rich. Some of them will. A lot of them won't. Some of them won't get anything. But that's why NIL is here, is because these guys in the coaching profession keep getting a fortune, which is what the market bears, and it's fine. I got no problem with how much a coach makes. I always hate it when somebody says, well, for $3 million a year, he should be doing this, or $7 million, he should be. He's the head coach at that school. He's got all that responsibility. He's got to recruit all the time. Number two was, I didn't get to mention this, I think I just should be doing a little bit of this, because I picked Justin Thomas to win the PGA, and he won last week. So there, I got one right. How about that? That was fun to watch. That course is really interesting. But to see him win was great. But boy, there is nothing like a week after a major. You just kind of like, I don't think I want to watch golf. I mean, I love golf. I just don't want to watch it after a major. Although I've been playing so much. I've been playing too much golf, I think. That may be it. Too much. And finally, number three on Hand Law's three things, I want to give a shout-out to Sam Riffus and Ben Shelton, who are playing right now as we speak in the quarterfinals of singles. I know how it is when you lose in the team championship, and, of course, they lost to Virginia. Unfortunately, they wanted to repeat. But then you have to turn around and play in the singles and doubles in many cases. They're in the semifinals. I wanted to make sure we gave them the attention it deserves, and we'll see. Maybe on Monday I'll tell you about one of them winning the whole thing. Of course, Rifus won it last year, right? So we'll see what happens there. So that is three things. Those are three things, actually, presented by Hand Law. All right, it is time for our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. And what you do is you qualify, and we had a lot of people qualify. 37 different names went into not all different names. Some people qualified 2 and 3 times, so they went in several times. And they're all on this list. And all I'm going to do is ask young Evan to give me a number between 1 and 50, any number at all.
I'm picking the answer to the universe.
The answer to the
42.
universe? 42.
Yeah.
Why is that the answer to the universe?
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, it is. I like that movie.
Yeah.
I like that movie. 42 is Ryan Emerson. Ryan Emerson, our old pal from a radio. He's always on our radio show. He has won a $25 gift certificate at Leonardo's, plus some other cool stuff. I'll put together the package when I go home, and I know I'll be able to get it to him easy because I know he lives up. I think he lives up in Union County, I think. I may be wrong there. I don't want to say. No, I don't know where he lives. He lives somewhere in America, I think. All right, so Ryan Emerson is a winner. Again, 37 qualifiers. We'll start another one on Monday. Another Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. You can win another $25 at Leonardo's. You can, and plus, like the last one, I think I sent him a really cool hat and something else, a towel maybe from the golf tournament, something like that. I got some other hats and stuff that I want to give away. So Ryan Emerson will win one. It is time now for the Hesser and Kipke. Now we're going to double up on Hesser and Kipke because we weren't here Monday. We always do the games of the weekend and we do the Power 5. We're going to do them both today. Of course, Hesser and Kipke is a law firm based in Hale Plantation specializing in employment, workers' comp, and family law. Visit their website at www.hklawfl.com or call Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920. Ken has threatened that he's going to come by here one day this week, maybe next week, and we'll be able to, maybe we'll have him on the air for a little bit. Ken's a great guy. I've never met him though. We've talked on the phone, we've talked on the text, but I've never met him. So it'd be good that if he does come by. So the Power 5, yeah, I'm sorry again. I got to go with the Yankees at number 1. 32 wins, first team to 32 wins, and that's I keep hoping. I don't ever root for injuries, but I just hope their team falls some way. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they look pretty good. Next up at number 2, the Dodgers at 30 wins and 8-2 in their last 10. It feels like a Yankees-Dodgers World Series is coming up. I'll put the Brewers at number 3. The Brewers, who are now 29-16. 29 wins for the Brewers. So have the Mets at number 4, have 29 wins. Again, this is killing me. And then the Padres, they have the most road wins, so I put them in at number 5. I think they're 17-7 on the road, and I think that says a lot about that team. So those are your top 5: the Yanks, Dodgers, Brewers, Mets, and Padres. And then your bottom 3, the Reds still holding up the top there with a 14-30 record. The Nationals, remember when they won the World Series? It wasn't that long ago. I remember it being a big deal. They're 16-30, and then at number 3 in the worst, the Royals, and the Royals, they're not good either. They're 50-28. So that is the Hesser and Kipke Power 5 and bottom 3. Now for the Hesser and Kipke games of the weekend, baseball. Nobody knows when the baseball is going to play. They're going to play the loser of the Texas A&M Alabama game. It's scheduled to be a 4 o'clock start. There's only 2 games scheduled for tomorrow, but we have no idea what's going to happen with the rain, the way it's been. It's supposed to be nice all day. They're hoping to get in all 4 games today, and if they do, that'll be great. And that will allow Florida to play a 4 o'clock normal game, get up, you know what time you're going to play. We'll see how that goes, but that's when it's supposed to be. And then, of course, if they win, then they would play on Sunday in the finals, so that'll be cool. I think if you win on Saturday, you don't have, it's not double elimination anymore. You just go play the final. God, it used to be terrible when it was double elimination on the finals, because if Florida was in it and they were undefeated and they would play, if they lost, and they'd always be throwing the pitchers that they didn't want to throw because they didn't want to get them messed up. By the way, this is another thing for your Hesser and Kipke games of the weekend. Monday at noon is the selection show. We'll find out where Florida's going. All right, softball, of course, is playing right now. And again, I told you I'd try to get you a update, but I didn't. That was my fault. But you'll know. You'll figure it out. Some of you are even probably watching the game. But they play tomorrow at noon against same team, of course, Virginia Tech. If they have to play Sunday, it will depend on how some of the other games go. So ESPN is not locking into what time the Sunday game would be if it's a necessary game, but noon on Saturday. So we'll see what they do. Men's golf is teeing off in about an hour and 25 minutes. No, actually in 25 minutes they're teeing off. And they're playing, of course, at the NCAA tournament. Good luck to them. And then every day they'll play, and then you try to get to the match play and see if you can win the whole thing. We'll see how well they do. But it's 3:25 today. Trying to figure out why I wrote 10:05. I think maybe that's when they play tomorrow. Is 10:05. I think that's what it was. So if those of you who are following that, the Miami-Boston series continues tonight at 8:30, and then would play Sunday again at 8:30. I don't think they have a schedule set for the finals because there's only one team in it. Of course, Golden State is in it. I think it's sixth time in 8 years, something like that. It's pretty impressive what they've been able to do. NHL Friday tonight, Colorado St. Louis at 8 o'clock. And then if they play, then they would, if it's still going, they'll play again on Sunday. The Carolina Hurricanes against my New York Rangers is Saturday at 8 o'clock. So there's a lot going on this weekend. If you want to watch golf, watch golf. Yeah, I'll probably watch a little bit of it. Mostly I'm going to probably watch whatever's going on and maybe even try to play some more golf. But that is our Hesser and Kipke Power 5 and Games of the Weekend. We got them both in. I'm proud of myself. Time now for our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. And our Gator of the Week is Jack Caglione, or Caglione, either one. And the reason he is our Gator of the Week is, as I mentioned earlier, this team is, they make it hard to love them because they have a series like they did with South Carolina where they're killing the ball, then they get one run, then they get 2 runs in the SEC tournament, and they were lucky to get the 2 runs, and they get no runs yesterday. And I think they had 1 hit. And then today, what happens? Jack Caglione comes up with a chance to knock in a run, gets a big hit, knocks in 2 runs, then hits a solo homer, gets the bats going. I think because of his at-bats is why Florida was able to win that game 7-5. They needed all the runs they got there at the end. But let me tell you what, this team next year might be really something, because if he continues to be as good a hitter as he is, he's huge, and we've seen it. And the home run he hit, he reached out and got it off the end of his bat and still got way out. You take him and put him at first, and maybe if he's comes back from Tommy John well and can pitch, it's just amazing how loaded this team might be next year. Next year, I think, could be really fun for baseball and softball. All right, finally, here on today's show, and it's great to be back doing the show. We'll be back again Monday with Coach Spurrier, back on schedule with him. I got a good story about him I'll tell maybe on the show. This, That, and the Other. We love This, That, and the Other. It's presented by Ironwood Golf Course, by Dar Shakow Insurance, and, of course, by Ballyhoo Grill. Which I think we may be going to tonight. All right. Number one. Well, not number one. It's not number one. It's this. There's nothing like that feeling of going over to St. Augustine Beach and you're riding over and you don't know what your condo's like. You've seen pictures, but you don't know. And you could walk in and go, man, it smells like this, blah, blah, blah. You never know because you're just renting a condo. Ours was a last minute one because we thought we were going to stay somewhere else and we didn't. So that was the this. The that was, I got there, I walked up the stairs. Hey, it's pretty nice. I opened up the curtains. There's the pool right in front of me, except it's under construction, which was not advertised. Okay, so I say, well, there's a second pool. I look down there. It's under construction too. Needless to say, I was not happy. I think the words OMG came out of my mouth. And now, my wife was really unhappy because she booked it and she did it all. We did get a discount because of it. It's a long story. I'm not going to mention the name of the place because we actually did enjoy the condo, but it was false advertising. The other, though, the this, the that, and then the other is we had a great time. We didn't have the pools. We went over to my sister's up in Volano Beach and swam at hers. We were in the ocean. 3 days, I think we were there. We putted on I love to putt on the sand, the hard sand there. And we had a big putting contest. Kelsey was with us. We had a great trip and a great time. So it all worked out. We had a blast. And we went to my favorite restaurant in St. Augustine, the Oasis, played at Marsh Creek. You couldn't ask for a better week. We were there 5 days. But what did I say last week? I'm weird on vacation. After about 3 days, I want to go home. This time it was that morning of the 4th day, I woke up. I go, man, how do I broach this with Karen that when we get done with golf today, why don't we just go on home instead of getting up early in the morning and going? She broached it with me. So I was like, yes, I get to go home, sit on my recliner, watch my TVs. It was still fun. We had a great time. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to Billy Donovan for joining us, man. I could talk to him for 100 hours. And thank you for all of our great sponsors for staying with us and stick with us through the summer, man. I'm telling you, this football season, we're going to have a lot of fun this summer because we're going to do a lot of interviews with former players. And this football season is going to be unlike any other we've seen in a long time. And as we get closer to it, it's just going to get that much more interesting. Stay with us, and you as listeners or watchers, stay with us, and we'll be back again on Monday with Coach Spurrier. Thanks again to Billy. Thanks to Evan, as always. Great to see him again. We'll be back on Monday. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep, I'm way back, and I am out of here.